Good evening, everybody, and welcome again to the Wednesday night loving kindness meditation online. My name is Alex. If this is your first time, if it's not your first time, I'm still Alex. All right. So I want to talk about a couple of things today, but first, I hope you're in some comfortable clothes. You know how much I like pajamas. And so today's pajamas are very interesting. Can you see that? All right. Sharks, okay? And wide awake. That's what it says. Wide awake. These are prophetic pajamas, because we all need to be wide awake. You know, I read somewhere where people were starting to have a lot of anxiety because, not necessarily because they were in quarantine, but because they were in quarantine and they weren't doing anything. You know, you heard a lot of people say that, oh, I'm in quarantine, so I'm going to learn a new language, or I'm in quarantine and I'm going to bake all the time, or I'm in quarantine and I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. You know, this idea of having to be productive in quarantine, and that's great if that makes you happy, and that, you know, if that's fulfilling in some way, that's wonderful. But you don't need to do anything. There's, you know, no need to have this anxiety. But why are we having this anxiety? You know, why is doing nothing so strenuous and anxiety-inducing? And, you know, I talk about this a lot in my classes that I've actually been to, either online or in person when we were having these classes in person. You know, it's how we're conditioned, largely. We're conditioned to be, you know, doers and producers. And if you're not a producer, then, you know, you have no value. And so that's how we're conditioned, unfortunately. If we're not productive, then what is our value? And so we tie a lot of our value to this, and when we're not doing anything, and then this is where this anxiety can really creep up. It's like, oh no, I'm not doing anything. And so you don't have to do anything. There is no rule that says that, you know, if you're working from home or not, that you have to do anything when you're not working from home. You can do a literal Netflix and chill. Or Netflix and chill the other way, that's fine. You have a partner there with you. But there's no need to do anything. It's okay just to sit and do nothing and watch what happens. You know, and with the idea of being wide awake, we can be wide awake to what's going on in our bodies and what's going on in our mind when we have these thoughts of anxiety about thinking that we have to do something and be productive. You know, can you just sit with that and just take a deep breath? And just realize you don't have to do anything, that you can just sit here and be. And that's perfectly acceptable. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about just a little bit today. And then wouldn't it be amazing if we can just sit and be? You know, it reminds me of, you know, I heard the kind of, I guess you can call it kind of an enlightenment experience of Eckhart Tolle. And hopefully you know who he is. And he said, and this was back in, you know, the late 70s, which is when this happened for him, that he had this experience, this enlightenment experience, and so he just would sit in the park all day and watch the birds and just be deliriously happy, just sitting there, doing nothing. Doing nothing, and just happiness was his natural state. And so with this idea of loving kindness that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, This will allow us just to sit there and just be deliriously happy with our mind on our own wish to be happy and the wish for others to be happy. We can be happy in this moment. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have our meditation on loving kindness. And, the other thing I was thinking about too is last week I have some allergies, but last week I don't watch myself when they do these videos. I just don't watch myself. I don't like to watch myself. I don't like to listen to myself. But I did watch myself with no sound for about 30 seconds. And boy, talk about anxiety. Oh my God, I move my hands all the time like this. I don't even know what I'm doing with this. I do this a lot, and I'm Italian or something like that. Hey. And it was a little bit anxiety inducing. But, it's like, yeah, I know I do that. I'm okay with it. So hopefully you are too. All right. And so now we're going to have our meditation on loving kindness. And for those of you who are new or newer, the word that we have in mind, or the word for this, is called metta. M-E-T-T-A. And this word metta comes from the Pali language, which is the language we think is pretty close to what the Buddha spoke. And as with a lot of ancient languages, there's not a one-to-one translation. And so this one word can have lots of different meanings. It can mean loving kindness. It can mean unconditional friendliness and goodwill. And it's simply a wish to be happy. A wish for ourselves to do happy and to do the things that cause happiness, and the wish for others to be happy, and the wish for others to do the things that cause happiness. And so what causes happiness? Right? Our positive words, our positive thoughts, our positive actions. Just like it says on the shirt, our kind of shirt, the DBT shirt, think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. And so those are the things that cause happiness. And so because of that, my happiness never gets in the way of your happiness never gets in the way of my happiness or anybody else's happiness. This is a wonderfully unselfish practice that you can just sit and do. Right? You just sit there, right? You don't have to wash the dishes or clean out the cupboards or do the laundry or anything else. You just sit there and do this practice. All right. Let's see. I feel I want to say something else, but I forgot what it is. Oh, yes, of course. After we do this meditation, we're going to sit just silently for a couple of minutes, just about 2 minutes, nothing more than that. And then we'll enter into a little bit of a question and answer section there. And so if you have a question, think about what that question is, write it down while I'm giving some preliminary instructions on sitting and things like that. Or think about a question. You could even just say, before we enter the meditation, you can say, I wonder what I want to ask. I wonder what I want to ask Alex. And then don't think about it, and then do the meditation, and maybe it'll come to you. Or if you have any thoughts on your meditation experience or any questions on the instructions, I'll take those too. And I like how these online sessions can be really interactive as well. So there's a little chat box there, and so just think about that. You don't have to do anything now, but you can if you want. Or you can just wait till later, that's okay. But let's get interactive too, and let's just talk. All right. So if you're seated on a cushion, you just want to make sure that your hips are higher than your legs. So you want to sit on the forward third of the cushion, right? So you're making this really wonderful tripod, the stable tripod with your legs. All right. Your hands can be anywhere that's comfortable. And so I put my hands alternatively on my legs or in my lap or something like that. So, and I'll move them, usually during the meditation, sometimes a lot, sometimes never, it all depends. If you remember anything, just make sure that your back is straight. So I like to make my back super duper straight and just kind of relax. So my core is still a little bit engaged, keeping my back straight, but my shoulders have dropped. Your head is nice and steady, and your eyes can be closed, your eyes can be open, your eyes can be half closed, looking 45 degrees down past your nose. So any of those are fine. And so it's going to be different for every person. So just find a position that's comfortable and that you can sit in for a while. And a couple more things before we begin our meditation on loving kindness. And one is that we want to develop this attitude of no struggle. We don't want to struggle with our position. We don't want to struggle with our thoughts. We don't want to struggle with finding a benefactor, which is kind of what I'm going to ask you to do, finding that one person that really makes your heart warm and to do this practice for. It could be one, it could be different ones. Just go with what's comfortable. Okay. And the other thing is when we sit like a Buddha. And so it's really helpful just to imagine yourself, either now or in the Buddha's time, just sitting underneath the Bodhi tree of enlightenment with your heart just so big and just open to all people in all directions. So it's okay to imagine yourself like as a Buddha. That's a wonderful strategy to use in this practice. So I encourage you to do that if you can. So nice and easy, doing nothing, really, which is perfectly fine. Oh, it's right here. Let's begin. So allow your eyes to close, or maybe keep them half open, whatever's comfortable for you. Making sure that you have that position that's nice and comfortable for you and sustainable, so you're not likely to move around too much. So if you need to move, of course it's fine. Let's just start to pay a gentle attention to the breath. Focusing your breath at the base of the nostrils, feeling the air go in and out as you breathe. Or maybe focusing on the belly or the chest, feeling its expansion and contraction as you breathe. Maybe just taking a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. At first, not forcing the breath, letting it be quite easy and quite natural. Developing this attitude of no struggle. We want to stay as still as we can while we'll do this meditation. But if that gets too difficult, it's okay to move. If you have a thought that arises, just say to yourself, thinking, and come back to the breath. So just for the next couple of minutes, just rest as gently as you can in the sensations of the breath. And now, to begin our practice of loving kindness, we're going to start with what we call a benefactor. And a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness in some way. Someone who it's really easy to have these feelings for. You just think of them, it's like, wow, your heart just seems to warm up and get bigger for them. And it could be pretty much anybody, your mother, father, brother, sister, best friend, a teacher that you had that was really good to you, or that was really memorable. This person could be alive or not, that's fine. Or it could be just someone who you admire greatly. Don't struggle with finding one. You can use more than one if you want to. And this person, like all people, they just want to be happy. And you want them to be happy. So there's a couple of different ways we can do this. You can repeat phrases over and over. You can picture them in your mind and just say these phrases. May you be happy, and say their name. May you be safe from inner and outer danger. May you be well in body and mind. May you be at peace and live at ease in this world. So you can say one or more of those phrases, or if you don't want to say phrases, you can simply just imagine this beam of loving kindness going from your heart to theirs. That's just called radiating. So you can radiate loving kindness too. So you can do either one of those or both if you want. So hopefully you've picked your benefactor. So just for the next few moments, we'll do this practice of loving kindness, of metta, unconditional friendliness and goodwill for them. You could even smile while you're doing this practice for them. And even if you want, put your hand over your heart. It's up to you. And so now shifting our focus just a little bit from doing this practice for our benefactor to now imagining our benefactor doing this practice for us. And this is a really important part of this meditation because we get to see if there's any resistance in our own heart to receiving loving kindness from someone else. So you can picture this person, and it could be the same person or someone different, smiling and either saying these phrases for us. May you be happy, say your name. May you be safe from inner and outer danger. May you be well in body and mind. May you be at peace and live at ease in this world. Or you can just imagine them just radiating loving kindness from their heart to yours. Don't overthink it. Just imagine them doing this practice for you. And it really helps to put your hand over your heart here, just to notice what's there. Is there any resistance in your heart that says, no, I can't accept this. This is too hard. I don't deserve this. Or can you feel any other kind of resistance? And if so, can you breathe into that? A nice, big, loving breath that'll allow you to relax and just take it in. There are so many people in this world that love you. You have no idea. If you knew, it would absolutely astound you. So now we'll imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. So now we can shift our focus again. And whereas before we had our benefactor doing this practice for us, now it's time for us to do this practice for us, to do this practice for ourselves. And this is hard for a lot of people in the West, which is why still having your hand over your heart can be such an advantage. So at first, just call to mind your own wish to be happy, which is the same wish that every other person has for themselves. Just a wish to be happy, a wish to be healthy and safe, free from danger. If we can do this practice, and we can feel the loving kindness in our own heart, and we can have that experience of how amazing that feels. And it makes doing this practice for others so important, so easy, I should say. So easy. And so you can just begin gently saying to yourself, may I be happy. May I be safe from inner and outer danger. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at peace and live at ease in this world. Still feeling for that resistance, if there's any. Don't fight it, just let it be there. Breathe into it if you can. Smile. It's always helpful. So we'll do this just for the next few minutes. And now, finally, there's been a lot of loving kindness going on. And so we've generated a lot of loving kindness, and now we can give that away. And we can do this practice for either all beings in all directions, or you can do this practice for a specific group of people who might could use some thoughts of loving kindness. I'll leave it up to you. And either saying the phrases or just radiating loving kindness to those people. However you want to do it is fine. Imagining yourself sitting there underneath the Bodhi tree of enlightenment as a Buddha. As a Buddha, who would you do this practice for? So we'll just finish our meditation with this. And so just open your eyes when you're ready and just take the next 90 seconds to 2 minutes out in silence as you stretch your arm and you stretch your leg. My leg fell asleep, so you need to wake it up a little bit. You still don't have to do anything. We'll begin in a second. Think of a question. Okay. Oh, okay. That was good for me. I hope it was good for you too. So, I can talk some more, but I'd like to hear from you. You know, I'm really always interested to know, what is your experience? If was there a part of this meditation that was easy for you or difficult? Do you have any questions on the instructions? Do you have any questions on Buddhism? Do you have just something you would like to share? I really would love to hear from you. It helps me too, because it's like, the more interactive that we can make this session, I think the more it helps everybody. Because, if somebody has a question, odds are that somebody else wants to know the answer to this too. Or if your experience is a particular way, probably somebody else's experience was that way too. So, ask away.
So Daniel asked, I read that many Buddhist countries celebrate Wesak Day, or the Buddha's birthday, this time of year. Can you tell us a little bit about this holiday?
Yeah, a little bit, but only a little bit. Wesak, or there's different ways it's pronounced, but Wesak is kind of like a triple celebration. It's the Buddha's birthday, Enlightenment Day, and Death Day, or Continuation Day. And it's celebrated in like many different countries, but different countries celebrate it at different times. So the Thai celebrate it different than the Tibetans or the Vietnamese or the Burmese. And so it's just, it's a celebratory day that's a remembrance of the Buddha. And it's a beautiful holiday. Do they have a Wesak celebration up at Metaforest? Do they do that?
They do, yeah.
Yeah. And so, the kind of unfortunate thing with this quarantine is we're probably not going to have that celebration this year. But, you can still have the celebration at home. And it's just a beautiful day filled with celebrations and meditations and prayer, and sometimes like New Year's we do resolutions, and so you can even have a resolution for Wesak. Okay, well, I'm going to work on this part of my practice or something like that. So it's a beautiful holiday. Yep. So that's basically what I can tell you about that.
Bill asks, is loving kindness meditation intended more to change ourselves towards being more loving and kind, or is it somehow enable helping others as a type of prayer, or both?
Loving kindness meditation is intended to awaken our own hearts, right? Our hearts are very much constricted. And I use this analogy a lot. Our hearts are very constricted, and they're filled with clutter, and they're filled with our trauma, and they're filled with our regrets of the past. And they're filled with so many things. And they're just obstructions of the mind, really. And so the purpose of loving kindness meditation is to remove those obstructions. That's one way to look at it. And to let the natural luminous nature of the heart shine. And also, I would say to, allow us to, meditation is one part of that. The other part of that is to, it's more like the verb of loving kindness. So loving kindness really is the verb of your life, or should be the verb of your life, so that you can then go help others. So I would hope that you would use this practice in a couple of different ways. There's a sitting practice, and there's actually a more active verb of loving kindness to then go help others. So hopefully that kind of answered your question. There's really kind of a lot more I can say about this, especially now that I think about it. So there's a type of Buddhism that you may have heard called engaged Buddhism. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, engaged Buddhism. And that's, what they will tell you is that's the kind of Buddhism where you kind of engage with the community, where you kind of connect with other human beings and maybe even live a life of service, But the odd thing is that all Buddhism is engaged Buddhism. No, that's my opinion, but all Buddhism is engaged Buddhism, right? So you can practice Buddhism sitting, or you can practice in Buddhism in your daily life by kind words, kind actions, kind thoughts. There's even a kind of metta that Pema Chodron calls on-the-spot metta. And so on-the-spot metta is when let's say you're driving along and you see a homeless person on the road, or you witness an accident and you're driving past the accident, or you just hear it with your ears, or you hear the ambulances, and you just automatically think to yourself, may you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. And so you can do this at any time during the day. With any action that you're doing, you can do with loving kindness. So the goal really is to, as I said before, have this loving kindness, this metta, be the verb of your life. And one of the things that in the Metta Sutta that the Buddha says is that, radiating kindness to the entire world. You don't even have to say phrases. You can just imagine this beam of loving kindness going from your heart to whoever you think could need it. Moving my hands again. So you can do this at any time of your life. And I like that phrase, having this be the verb of your life. And so loving kindness is not just a sitting meditation. It's an all the time meditation. Thank you. I appreciate your question. Happy to hear anything you have to ask, anything you want to know. Any comments on your meditation? What was that like for you? I want to know. What was that like for you? I'm always interested.
Evelyn asked, how do I guard against the pettiness, meanness, and trauma in the world that seeps into my meditation?
How do I deal with the meanness and pettiness that seep into your mind during meditation? That's a really good question, Evelyn. So first of all, let me just hopefully reassure you that this happens to pretty much everybody. These thoughts of the day, thoughts of the past and the future are filling the mind, old traumas rearing their heads, mean things that people have said, or, like for me, revenge fantasies, good at those. Pop in my head, like I'm gonna get this person back by doing this and that. And sometimes I get really agitated and I move my body like this, or I move my head, I clench my jaws. And all of these things are just like a hindrance, right? These things that pop up in the mind, right? And there's several ways that you can deal with these things. Sometimes, since we're already doing this practice of loving kindness, you can just kind of stop what you're doing. Stop if you're saying the phrases, you can stop saying the phrases, or you can stop radiating, and you can just take a deep breath. You can even just open your eyes and take a deep breath. Oh, this isn't helping. And you can reflect on, do these thoughts cause happiness, or do these thoughts not cause happiness? And then if they don't cause happiness, hopefully you can just drop them. You can also reflect on the impermanent nature of these thoughts. Like these thoughts, they're gonna do their thing and they're eventually just gonna go away. So you can reflect on the impermanent nature of these thoughts. They're really funny. I think it's like really funny, to be perfectly honest. The Buddha's describing different ways that you can deal with these thoughts, right? And one of the ways is loving kindness, which is kind of funny. But if you're doing a loving kindness meditation and these thoughts, you're doing everything, right? You're doing everything. You're just stopping your meditation. You're getting up. You could walk around and just come back to it. That's always perfectly fine. But the interesting thing that the Buddha says that you can do is you can gnash your teeth and clench your fist and drive it by force. You can drive this thought out of your mind. He gets really dramatic with this really kind of intense kind of imagery of gnashing of the teeth. Now, I don't know anyone who does that. I mean, there might be people who do it, but he says you can do that if you want to. But yeah, there's so many ways that you can do that. And don't think that you just have to deal with these thoughts, or that you just have to like let them be. There's so many different methods of contacting these thoughts. Usually I just like to stop what I'm doing and just breathe. Just let the thoughts be the thoughts. And just really concentrate on my breath. And that usually does it for me. So hopefully that helps. Anything else is fine. And if not, that's okay too. There's no pressure. I don't want to put any pressure on you by sitting quiet for long periods of time. That's not a lot of loving kindness, is it? And just remember, you can do this practice at any time during the day. You can have a kind and loving thought, word, action during breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whether you're alone or whether you're with people, with your family. It's always possible. The end of suffering is possible. And the way to do that, or a way to do that, is to do this practice of loving kindness. This practice of loving kindness releases all that anger in your heart. Because as you know, love is greater than fear and hate and anger and all of those things. So the more you can fill your heart with loving kindness, the more those other things don't have a chance. They don't have a chance. And this takes time. It takes a little bit of time, and that's okay. And I think going back to what I was saying before, we really need to be wide awake when these thoughts of unworthiness pop up, when we're quarantining and we're not doing anything, we're not learning a new language, we're not building a new bookshelf, we're not baking 10 new cakes and 10 new pies, we're not sewing masks or making clothes or doing any of that. If you just want to sit in your butt and do nothing, sit in your butt and do nothing, and be okay with that. Have loving kindness for yourself. Like, yeah, this is perfect. This is just what I want to do. I want to sit here and do nothing. Your value as a person is not dependent on what you do, whether what you do for a living or what you do in quarantine. What you do is irrelevant in this context. Just be kind. Be loving, be caring, be compassionate. Sometimes that's just doing nothing. And that's always okay. So you guys, thank you so much. Any other questions? Nope, okay. Thank you so much for being here. It was wonderful to have you. Like I said on the Facebook message, if you saw it, I do love each and every one of you. Whether I can see you or not is irrelevant. I'm so happy that you came here. So let's join our palms together at our hearts, please. And may the benefits of this practice, this discussion, be received by all beings in all directions. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be joyful and at ease. May all beings be happy. And may all beings be loved and seen for the beautiful, radiant beings that they are. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time.